Okay, ready? Episode 6, HDP. Let's bring the camera down from the ceiling.
I'm feeling such a happy song.
Welcome to Pluribusters. Christmas has come and it's episode 6, HDP. I'm Kate Dimbleby.
Hello, I'm Ru Howe, and Pluribusters is a podcast. Thank you to everybody who's been watching so far. If you haven't watched it, Kate doesn't like sci-fi. I do. We talk about Pluribus in the context of that and our growing excitement about it. And I would say...
Powered by Stornoway, don't forget.
Powered by Stornoway, the interactive media platform. Make anything interactive. I would say this episode, we are...
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
It's a game changer. We've been waiting for the game changer, and I said to you, didn't I? I was like, there's a kind of release. There's been all of this tension. We've all been going, what's happening? Where? Is anything ever going to happen?
We both love this episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is fair to say. I loved it from the moment that we were in the Blair Witch dark with the torch and Carol.
So it was interesting. You were right there with all of the film references this time. When it opened and there was that empty wide shot of the facility.
Yes.
You were like, it's like The Conversation.
I know you've groomed me well.
Yeah, apparently. And that's maybe a different word. And then when we got inside, the torch on the face, you were like Blair Witch, and it's exactly what I mean. We were very in sync in what we were thinking, but like they really tapped into some visual tropes, and they did it so
much
well
in this episode. I mean, again, I think one of the reasons. Well, you're a massive film buff. I kind of like to think I'm a total Luddite.
Oh, massive. I mean, I know I put on a few pounds.
But, this episode, even I was like, look at the mirror shots. Look at the glass shots. Look at there was so much kind of visual
there were some
stimulation.
incredible shots in this episode.
Yeah,
but also, I think, first of all, that the massive... I feel... They want to give a huge shout out to the writer.
Oh, wow.
Vera Blassi.
Yes.
Apparently, this is her first television show that she's written for. Most of the people who are doing this have either come up through the stable of coming up to the writer's room via the Vince Gilligan group, or they are well-established TV writers coming to this.
Wow.
She's coming to this because he was introduced by a mentor of his, who was a mentor of hers, who loved her screenplay that she'd written about Pontius Pilate, like a fish out of water script about Pontius Pilate, apparently. And he was like,
McBoner.
And he was like, I've got to get her in. So he's got her into the writer's room for this. I mean, what an incredibly written episode. Also, the director, whose name is, I should be able to remember his name, because I was just listening to her on the... Should listen to the official podcast where they are both on it.
Let's listen to this podcast first.
Of course, yeah. I'm just going to look for details.
Thank you, everyone who's been writing in. We are really enjoying that chat. It's happening on multiple platforms now, on Instagram as well as on Spotify. You can also comment on Apple. And please tell people to watch. I feel like this is the episode. We were saying there's going to be an episode where it's like shifts a gear. I reckon this is the episode where people start talking about it and start telling their friends, listen, just get through the first 4 episodes or 5 episodes.
And if you did like this episode, if you didn't like this episode,
let us know.
Write in and say why you didn't like this episode, but not in a way that people on YouTube write in and go, you guys have drunk the Kool-Aid. What is even happening here? I had to turn off comments on YouTube because people are such trolls on YouTube. So sorry if you're watching this on YouTube. Come over to Spotify where everybody's having thoughtful discussions rather than just random nonsense. But
YouTube's a whole nother kind of hive mind.
Equally, if you did like it, come and talk about what you liked about it in the comments.
Can we just address something first? Yeah. Christmas.
Okay, Christmas. It's Christmas time. It's now December.
And for those of you who are watching this, you will see that we have an entire Christmas village set up.
We do. We've got a weird lamp set up in the middle of it to allow us to do the thing. And I've closed the blinds. It's daytime because we watched it in the morning. I closed the blinds so that we could turn on the lights in the village. Okay. We're doing this during the day when we should be working, running our company.
I know, it's a bit sneaky. But
But you're going away.
We've got a schedule.
You're going away, so we've got to do it now. But also, it was very good to do it because it was good to have that reaction. So I haven't actually listened to anything else or done other than a little bit of the official podcast to hear those because I wanted to hear the director and the writer. So the director's called Ganja Monteiro, and she's Brazilian heritage and the writer's Brazilian. and they're just fantastic.
I'm hoping
that
for
direction was
I'm
incredible.
hoping for a road trip through South America, Central
Yes.
America.
I loved
Like when he
getting the
got all
maps.
those maps
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
I was like, and also, so yes, Paraguay. So here we get all the characters suddenly. We've got new characters which
Yeah.
we're just gasping for, and also I would say this is the first episode where Carol. We really see what everyone's been telling me on the feedback, which is like, don't be so harsh on Carol. She's really grieving and sad and cross
Right.
and defensive. But we go and see her cry in the bathroom.
Oh yeah, she has to, even when she's alone with the only other person for like tens of thousands of miles, the only
Yes.
other individual, she still has to go and cry in the bathroom.
Yes. I mean, I think it's a really beautiful episode for her. It's a turning moment for her. That vulnerability that she shows, the kind of the fight that she's been fighting her whole life, clearly,
Yeah.
not trusting anyone. I mean, there's huge themes in this episode
You
around
read a very-
trust and
Yeah.
yeah, and I think I've been thinking a lot about the menopause recently, and I wonder why, and the kind of that kind of defensiveness that comes from somebody who has suddenly realised that the system is all skewed and they're cross and they don't trust anyone, and actually it can make them be very unlikable, but actually, you know, what the beautiful thing about this episode is that moment where she kind of realizes that she's fighting an invisible fight, whereas I would say the rest of us in the rest of human in life, the fight is not invisible.
Right.
I mean, like, people are not going, oh yes, Kate, we totally understand you. So I think that's really poignant for that reason.
Yeah.
And it's written by a woman, obviously, so that's also music to my ears, because I think there's a kind of level of sophistication of understanding Carol's experience. Not that we're talking about, you know, we don't know if she's menopausal, but the point is she's midlife, she's struggled a lot, and suddenly Casanova McBoner, who I was imagining was going to be an arsehole, is actually not an unlikable person.
I know.
despite his weird
We were
James Bond fantasies.
looking forward to seeing him come back in this episode, because we thought it was going to be a lot of tension. But actually, yeah, it was that. Can we just talk about that incredible party scene?
Yeah.
Well, so we haven't. Okay, what we haven't
We can
done
come
is
back to the dead bodies.
okay. We'll come back to the dead bodies because there's a lot to say about that, as we queued up previously. But the party scene, as you go into the party and all the way down the corridor, so there's something going on here also about the fact that these are all the others, right?
Yes.
So they're not only acting a certain way when they're being observed by the individual, they've built that whole room. Do you know LARPing?
No.
Do you know cosplaying?
Yes.
Okay, so LARPing is, I love that you don't know what LARPing is.
Sounds rude.
Yeah, it's called live action role playing.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
And it's
yeah,
what
yeah.
those remember at university there were people who used to dress up in like dress up as wizards.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Apparently, it's a huge thing. We discovered that when we went to America.
right.
Lots of women
Lots of
love
LARPers.
LARPing.
Yeah, watch out for them.
I'm sorry.
So I mean the fantasy of this is and what I thought when I was watching it is, previously we talked about how Vince Gilligan had said this was his original idea was a guy who lived a fantasy life, and he really rapidly realised there was no sort of tension there because he could get whatever
Where
he wanted.
everybody did everything that he wanted. Yeah.
This is him exploring that character. That character he's taken off down this, and he's Mr. Diabate,
Yes.
Casanova McBoner,
Yes.
and he's there doing his thing, and he's just like what was incredible about that whole scene is you knew what was going on as we were doing it. I knew what the hands were going to be in poker,
Yes.
didn't I? I was like saying
Yes.
out loud, "This is going to be he's going to be a flush, and that's going to be a royal flush." Like everything was
And yet you're
predictably
still really
cliched,
excited
and it's
about
still
it.
excited because it's still like it's funny. It's so funny. All of it's so funny. That balance of it not just being ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous, but also like
Funny
the
and
care of
beautiful.
like creating this thing, and he's living out his ridiculous fantasy, and you
And that
kind of-
everybody's reactions, you know, again, the kind
Yeah.
of group, the
Yeah.
chorus, playing their parts so beautifully,
Yes,
doing
absolutely.
exactly what's needed at
and then
exactly the right time.
one of them breaking character. So interestingly, one of them breaks character. They're not all thinking in
Oh, yeah.
completely unison, even
Yeah,
though they've got
yeah.
hive mind. One of them breaks character,
Yes.
and he's like, "Come on, pal, stay in character," and then he
Yes.
goes back in. It was all of that stuff was hilarious.
Which again is we've never seen that relationship. He's showing us the relationship of the one of the 12 with the hive mind as it could work. Like
yes,
it's a
if
vision
Carol
of,
if Carol wasn't again not into it, she could be living her pirate dreams.
yeah, exactly with Sosha. Where is Sosha?
But well, yeah, I guess she'll come back.
Yeah.
But Mike Sizemore had a very good theory about that, and that we'll come back to that.
This was on Instagram.
Yeah. So yes, also message us on Instagram or wherever really. But anyway, the just listening a little bit to the official podcast and talking about, I was interested in the casting of Mr. Diabate and how they did that first episode where you meet him, where you were like, he's sort of reasonable, but it's terrible, and all the stuff we talked about in episode 2.
Yes.
Now coming back to him and finding this person who is sort of, is quite sweet, like him. That whole scene where he mimics her with the avocado and the eggs and the bacon, that was really touching.
Oh my God, that really made me cry.
I mean, that's incredible writing, right? Incredible character building in that one moment, and he's there. He's on the phone to her, to the others, saying, "No, she's very lonely." And
yes. So we know he's empathetic. We know actually he is that kind of, I've never met one, but a kind of Lothario who genuinely adores women in a kind of like non-invasive, powerful way.
Okay, let's back up a bit.
Okay, I'm going backwards.
Yeah.
Kind of
don't forget the hot tub scene. But the I think there's all sorts of stuff around weird power dynamics. But what was interesting, again, listening to the official podcast, talking about him, listening to being interviewed, he sent in a self-tape.
Can I just say something about that, though?
What?
So the problem with patriarchy is the idea that you, as a woman with a beautiful body, a young woman, are kind of owned and expected to be, dominated by this. That's the problem.
That's what I've always
the system.
Yeah.
But actually, like, the problem with the reverse is the non-enjoyment of a beautiful body and a beautiful, and I say this as an older woman who isn't in that place anymore, but I watch my daughters grow up and just like navigating who we are and how we, anyway, that's a whole nother conversation.
Well, no, it's one of those sentences that you don't finish. You just leave it hanging like a sort of...
I just think that, if we were living in a society where people were okay about like being who they are and having and enjoying each other, that's what this episode is looking at.
Okay.
I've been listening to a podcast about the place in Berlin, which is like the Berghain.
Oh, the nightclub.
Yeah, where anything can happen.
Right.
So I'm clearly deep in that world.
Okay.
Should we move on, Rupert?
I think I'd be much more comfortable if we moved on. Yeah.
No, but I think, I'm going to say one last thing on that.
Okay.
Which is, we are in this weird world where we know that young men are sort of shamed for feeling that they want to be attracted to women, that they want, we see that every day now.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Teenage boys. And there's something kind of innocent about him in his hot tub with all these girls. And
So
it is a
that
fantasy.
beautifully loops back to what I was going to say, which is when they did the casting, Vince said it was a really, 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 really hard part to cast. They saw a lot of really talented people.
Yes.
But he was the only one Samba, the guy who plays him, was the only guy who brought the innocence.
Yes, that's it.
And he said he did the casting and he did it kind of really smooth. And then the casting director on his callback said, do that, but then try one where you're like just quite nerdy.
Yes.
And he said nerdiness was quite close to who he is as a person.
Yes.
So his nerdiness and his, like actually, if you think about what an American jock version of that party would be, it would be like the kind of like the frat parties in the Social Network. Do you know what I mean? Those things that are just designed to make you feel like, bleh. But actually, like mimicking in Elvis's suite a James Bond scene.
Yes.
Like apart from all of the weird stuff, apart from all the sexual stuff.
Yes.
Like there's something really hilarious about that. It's like you're playing a sort of live action video game.
I was going to say, and when I first saw it, exactly that, it was like, oh, this is what Zuckerberg's talking about when he's talking about avatars and like going in and being able to do whatever you want. But like, it's so innocent. Exactly that. There's something, everyone's agreed to be there.
Yep.
Everyone's agreed to play that part. Well, again, I think the theme of free will versus, what's the opposite of free will?
all of the other stuff. Reality. So
determination. That's what I was going to say.
Isms. The thing one of the things that occurred to me straight away as soon as it started to play and the camera went through and it felt very like there are many scenes in Star Trek: The Next Generation, which is we've talked about before, truly incredible science fiction philosophy experiment over many series. they have a place called the holodeck, which is a famous thing among nerds. So there'll be lots of people who know this and other people who won't. And the holodeck is you go into this room, and there's basically a holographic projection of whatever space you want to be in. And it's like a room, but it's also it's like an immersive space without goggles. And you go in there, and you get put into outfits. And so there are loads of episodes where people are like playing Sherlock.
I'm just noticing your Hawaiian shirt. I think you've worn that especially.
I have worn it especially, yeah.
Sorry.
Because it's Christmas.
And Vegas.
Yeah, and Vegas.
Sorry,
But yeah, so you walk into the room. You walk into the room, and you get to wear what So there's like Sherlock Holmes episodes, and there's like a 1940s noir sort of detective stuff, and they all go and play out different fantasies, and that's how they entertain themselves. And this is exactly what he's doing. Only he's not using holographic characters created by computer and other people who are his friends.
He's got a whole cast and crew
of people who can do exactly what he wants.
And I loved the moment. Actually, I think one of my favourite moments was when they broke character.
Yeah.
But instead of, and this was the thing, is the power imbalance wasn't there. So because all of them just smiled and just cleared away.
Smiling as the thugs picked up the broken glass was just genius.
Again, quite kind of, as I'm saying that, I'm quite moved by it because we are so used to seeing things through the lens of injustice and power imbalances and like the maid clearing up the thing or the guy. And again, Casanova McBoner isn't a he's what we've discovered from him is he's actually not a kind of I don't know what his job is. We don't know what his job is in his former life, but we don't get the feeling that he was like a annoying CEO who could tell everyone what to do.
No,
he's very much a kind of nerd boy.
Yeah, he's a programmer. And that walk he has, there's a scene, some of the photography in this episode is incredible, but that walk, when you see his silhouette down the corridor and he's got that little strut and you can feel him putting it on. I mean, anyway. We
need to move, should we go backwards?
We need to go to, like a good way to get back to the human-derived protein is to go via his reaction. The reveal that she does, where she's talking to him and he's like, oh, you're talking about them eating people. Yes, I'm very uncomfortable with this also. And she, like, her sort of astonishment at that.
Oh my God.
And then John Cena. So you don't know who John Cena is, right? But he's it's so weird. So I don't think in the UK, maybe in other parts of the world, I'm not sure. But he's not very famous here, but he's very famous in America as an actor. So they just got a very famous actor to do that thing. It would be like that being presented by, I don't know what the UK equivalent would be. But it would be somebody very recognisable, and I love that moment where she's like, "He's not
Benedict
John Cena."
Cumberbatch.
Yes, maybe a sort of tough guy version of that. His reaction, and the others who are there, they have this bias, which is they don't want to disrupt this life, or they don't want what she wants. But they do have some compassion towards the others and the story that they've told them about how everybody's going to starve
and they will need to serve. They need to solve, human population demise.
They want to solve the problem as it is and how they can stop them starving, but they're not thinking, how can I reverse this?
Yes.
And she's thinking, how can I reverse this?
She's only thinking of the past and getting back to some version of her individuality, which is questioned, like that moment where he says at the end of that whole reveal, he's like, it's not about you, Carol. And that kind of,
Who says that?
I think he says that to her. He said it's not about you, because essentially that's what makes her humble. There's an element to which she realizes she's only been looking at her slice of the picture, which is again a very relevant theme to today. Right. Which is right.
That's when she realizes, oh my God, that heartbreaking moment when she realizes she's been left out of the last 12 people in the world having a conversation with each other.
It's like a WhatsApp group.
Yeah, really it is. Fucking awful. And you see her holding it together, and then she has to go to the toilet to cry. What a nightmare. And then you're all the time, like, since he was interrupted in the middle of his porno fantasy, and then you're expecting him to be pissed off about it, but he arrives, he's very nice to her, he's very patient with her. And that moment where she says, I'm going to hang around, and you can see him trying to figure out how he's going to respond to that. And then she says
Which is interesting, because up until now, we've only experienced the Hive as being generous and thoughtful about people's feelings, and he's showing that he's giving that to her, which shows that maybe he's on the way of joining.
He's trying. He's dealing with some of the issues. I mean, I think obviously the show is unlike anything, but one of the ways in which it's unlike anything is it's really, really unwilling to create a real antagonist. Like the antagonist is the situation.
Yes.
Actually, really, the antagonist is the aliens who have sent this thing, and everybody else is like a victim in one way, right? But the others are just other types of victims, and maybe they're good guys in another way, and so is Mr. Diabate, and so is she, and everybody's.
Do I have to call him Mr. Diabate?
No, you can call him Casanova McBoner.
I think we should dive into that because we've had a few theories about what's going on.
So can I just before that? Can I just say that at the end of the last episode, everybody was like, "Oh my god, it's Sonic Green." I mean, not everybody, a bunch of people. We talked about Sonic Green.
Yeah.
We thought it's got to be people being eaten.
Yeah.
But because that's such an established idea in science fiction, we were like, surely it's not just going to be that. We talked about, in the chat on Spotify, we talked about Sonic Green, and Henry wrote about it, and Mike Sizemore wrote in and said maybe it's not just so obvious that it's just people. Maybe it's somebody she knows.
Yeah.
And we were like, what's the twist? What's the twist?
Yeah.
What was the delay? And the twist is that it's not like that they're doing it because they're evil. They're doing it out of desperation and like practicality, and it's all just a very reasonable solution that they're not entirely comfortable with, but it's the best of a bad situation, and that is much more interesting.
Of the food system.
Oh my god! I mean, it felt like a criticism of Jainism or like veganism or like the way that the.
Was it a criticism or was it like the idealism is we need to get to some world peace where everybody is happy, including the animals and the trees and everything. So how do we get there? And the aliens have sent this virus in, and then.
So there's somebody watching this who I won't say who they are because I had this conversation privately, but they talked about how many years ago they went to go and live in the middle of the woods with no electricity, no running water, to try and get themselves away from try and remove the impact that they were having and not be. I mean, this was very long time ago, and they were trying to reduce their impact in oil and all sorts of different ways.
Yeah,
and they still had to go into town to do things like wash clothes, and they realised that that there's this and they were talking about it in reflection of other movements on Earth that around us that there are to try and limit impact, and how. At some point you have to compromise, right? At some point you have to realise that we are all interconnected, a theme of the show, and that you have to realise what your point is and where you're willing. If you're a Jain, they're brushing the path in front of them to avoid treading on insects and trying to reduce harm. There's a point in which that can come from a religious conviction or a tradition, and there's other things which are about sustainability and human impact. And this is suddenly in that area where it's like, we've got 7.5 billion people who are all not killing anything. Yeah. How the hell do you make that sustainable? I mean, then suddenly it's your brother writing the food strategy.
Keep my brother out of this. Although he did say something very interesting about like very early on. He was like, "What are they doing when they're not?" As
you went into the warehouse, you were like, "Oh my god, this is what they're doing."
Exactly.
Chopping up and freezing dead humans.
So I think we need to get to Paraguay guy.
Okay. Oh yes, we do.
Because he's obviously the other distrustful person for many different reasons to Carol. So Carol's got reasons to distrust and be angry.
Also, like the faces in this program.
Oh, the actor who plays we know his name yet? Manosos.
We don't. Not sure if we've been told that. We do know that he is. We know from the.
I mean, he's almost like from another film. Yeah. That's what I love about him. He's like from the thing about love that we had at our wedding. Like that film.
What, In the Mood for Love?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
He's quite like the main. I don't know why, because he's so beautiful.
But it's the lighting and the Paraguay scene just feels very.
Maybe I shouldn't have focused on his beauty, but there is something. He's very gentle face. Yeah.
And again, I mean, the casting of this stuff must be so difficult. But that moment the clock starts to run back. The weird thing about this show is I keep on predicting what's happening, and even though we're predicting what's happening, it's the way that they do it that still makes it interesting and enjoyable.
Isn't that like
and because it's so funny
and sort of it's that idea of avoiding the, like, almost at some level, you know the rules so well that you can kind of avoid them.
Yeah, we're at this point where they
able to.
know that we know that they know that we know the rules.
Yes.
And they're not going to try and do the obvious dodges. They're just going to lean into they're literally the humanity of it, right?
Well, the art as well, like the art of that space. I was thinking in our digital world, the idea that he genuinely has a clock that's going, and then he's got the pencil and paper writing down the
close-ups
frequencies.
of that pencil and
just everything is analog in his world.
Yeah.
That beautiful old analog car, like it is all a version of a world that we've lost.
MG, and he had to roll it down the hill to start it. And you're not my mother. My mother's a bitch.
My mother's.
I mean, just so many fucking moments we both laughed out loud in that show. That MG, and feeling that moment of pride you have as a British person, you're like, oh, look, it's an MG. My sister used to drive an MG. I was like, oh, an MG, oh, good old British motor car. Stops. Oh yeah, of course, you're going to have to do a hill start. You have to do a bump start by rolling it down the hill.
I can't wait for him and Carol to meet.
Yeah.
I mean, that you always said you thought that was going to be the coming together.
Yeah. A few people have written in and said that as well, just like in how they were going to get misdirected and him not understanding, not realizing who she was until she actually got the tape.
Yeah.
Interestingly, we were talking to
and the VHS.
Michaela,
I mean, the whole
who works with us
world
about
makes
South
me wanna
America
cry.
and Central America and all the places. Like, it's such a mysterious place to us. I don't know much about South America and Central America,
No.
but we've been watching Race Across the World, Celebrity Race Across the World, and as he was getting out the maps, I was like, oh, Guatemala, oh, Ecuador, Honduras.
Yeah.
It's like he had the maps waiting to do this trip.
Well, and the maps, again, digital, analog.
Yeah.
This
absolutely.
shift in worlds.
Yes.
And an idealized world versus the messy, horrible world that we live in, where we're not solving any of these problems.
Yeah.
It's gone a whole new level for me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it has for lots of other people. Do we need to
Animals? No, I think we'll address a couple of questions. So a few people have written in about the animals. Mike Sizemore wrote the most interesting of all of the things that we've been thinking about animals, which was, anyway, other things. But then, do you think those wolves may have been hive mind connected to each other and maybe not the humans? Wait, bear with it. I know wolves are smart in general, but it got me thinking about that one rat that played dead to kick things off. The first thing that was infected were the rats, right? The mice, or the rats, and they were in it.
Well, and of course.
So then, if it spread through the animals, also when the hive were crying and chanting "Please, Carol," the consensus, like of people watching, seems to be that was the hive mind begging her not to hurt them anymore. But what if Carol actually managed to free them, even momentarily, and that was all the awake humans, like the people inside, I guess, all asking her not to stop and to continue trying to free them. Please, Carol hits differently, and the minute Zosia collapses unconscious, they stop crying and chanting at the same time. He's a science fiction writer.
That is good,
It's good,
Mike.
man. Yeah,
We might bring
Happy
you into
days.
the room
Yeah,
on our live stream. We might. I don't know why I say that like that.
He is also a classicist whose kind of foundation story and all of this, like mine is Twin Peaks. He's like, we're both lovers of Twin Peaks. He says, doubt I'm correct, but this takes me back to mapping out Twin Peaks episode by episode as it aired back in the day. Yeah.
I mean, I feel kind of foolish because I have come to this like a kind of, not knowing anything.
No, it's great. That's why this works.
I know, but it does seem clear to me that this has layers upon layers upon layers, and interestingly, that thing of the animals and the natural systems. We know that mushrooms and trees are talking to each other.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
We know. You may not know, but mushrooms and trees are talking to each other.
Well, there's lots of books written
Yeah.
about how they
Yeah. communicate,
and I think. I think there's something that is really playing into that hive mind of like, is there a better way to communicate with each other?
Well,
that
that's
we
why I
haven't
think that's
figured
why
out?
from the Borg to all the different ways in which hive minds have popped up. I mean, in fact, the hive mind. Marek,
Exists as a
my friend
thing.
Marek said one of his favourite things about this episode is having to listen to you say the word hive mind.
Why?
Because he knows
Is it like a
on
thing?
how unusual. No, just said how unusual it is that you, as a support girl, would be saying the word
Don't
hive
bring
mind.
my schooling
Okay.
into this.
But I think as a concept, the idea of that, like in other science fiction as well, Star Trek Discovery had a it was like set in a time zone. Anyway, it had a like a drive that powered the ship that was built on some kind of mycelial network that could open up wormholes and sort of jump through time, so it didn't have to sort of travel over distances in time. And it was about mushrooms, and the main character in that, who is the scientist who discovered it, was called Paul Stamets, after the real life scientist who's a kind of pioneer of mushroom thought, Paul Stamets, who also
Oh my God.
was a friend of Frank Herbert when Frank Herbert was writing Dune, high on mushrooms. And Dune comes, even back in the 60s, comes from mushrooms.
Yes, so I think, and for me, the thing Vince Gilligan said in the early episodes about this isn't about AI, I'm now so happy because I think that's what's interesting, isn't it? It's like there's this thing we're talking to that seems to be hive mind, except that it's like being generated by a load of blokes with a particular agenda,
right,
feeding in certain kinds of information.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about, hive mind, is starting to look at that idea of organic, energetic communication, the ways in which we hear each other when we're not defensively resisting each other. And I think that moment where he picks up and imitates, there's also that thing of mirror neurons.
Oh yeah.
So that idea that when he does eat the way she eats, there's this idea that human beings are actually programmed to kind of mirror each other as a way of understanding and communicating. But so often now, firstly, we're not in person. One of the things this week has told me is that when you're in person with people, it's a different this is like really basic, but it's
we've lived in a Zoom
this
world,
weird world where everyone's shouting at each other on Zoom, and or sitting silently, watching the shouting
with the camera off. Yeah, it's obviously a different thing, but it is rarer.
So I'm excited about that because I feel like it's exploring a kind of consciousness question rather than AI, which feels limited. So
just like business, just going on a business tangent for a moment, like we've been very AI skeptical in our business. We're a creative technology business, Storn Away. Like AI, a lot of our customers are using AI to generate media and think about things. You've been doing some work recently with AI helping you write complex documents that use wording that doesn't come naturally to us, right? So stuff that is more kind of corporate than the world that we've come from, which is more of a creative background. And you were quite interesting about how it's given you access to from creative,
like the flip side.
You were talking about how like AI people think it's going to make them more creative, but actually it's given creative people
a way
the ability
to
mask
in a world that
and
isn't built. I would say the biggest thing that anybody who's making something out of nothing faces is, how do I, in the world that it exists, how do I make money out of that, turn that in, or whatever, if they want to do that. And I do think that AI is blowing that door open in terms of legal documents, in terms of, we used to have this joke when I made my first album where the blocker for me was not like, can I write 12 songs about this, and can I get the band together, and can I create a whole piece of music and cover art. My blocker was the barcode. It was
getting the barcode on the back of the CD so that you could release it.
Yeah,
and it felt like a knowledge
world.
And technical. There was a gatekeeper problem in the middle of that. You were like, I can't make a CD because I don't know how to do the barcode.
Yeah,
and nobody will tell me how to do the barcode. And it was before the services that existed that did that. And
we're having
when we
to
solved
own
that
in our team. Definitely. I had to say this. That I think we are all at some level, somewhere along that relationship to digital technology, because we've those of us who've lived without it and then come into it, we've lived analog and we've gone into digital, and so our resistance to it and how we feel about it is kind of real and worth exploring.
So the use of AI in The Economist published an article this week or last week showing research that use of AI in corporate America has plateaued this year. Like workers are just not.
I can understand that. Because once it's unlocked a formula, you're like,
right.
And now that's boring.
So you can, absolutely, but you can use it to do the kind of to do some boring work, to do some stuff that would be like expensive to do otherwise. And interestingly, filmmakers are talking about how it's a fantastic pre-visualization planning tool, but for actual work, it's not good.
Yeah.
And obviously, they don't use it in this. Apart from, I mean, even in those incredible VFX shots with Vegas empty, you know, like last week with Albuquerque.
So he's
empty.
said there's no AI.
There's no AI used in this. Yeah. Made by humans. Yeah. And so. Thinking about that and how it relates to the hive mind, to bring it back in.
Yes.
Like there's this thing of the access that you have to knowledge. Like there's this weird thing that they have all this access to knowledge.
Yes.
And yet they somehow have a loss of humanity.
Yes. Is that because difficulty and challenge are just fundamental to humanity, and therefore if you remove that?
I mean, it comes back, I think, probably to that thing of, I can't remember what the line is, but she said something along the lines of, don't you think the world's not better even though it's peaceful? And then she heard what she was saying and she was like, oh, okay. But I mean, that is at the heart of this, isn't it?
The difficulty and the challenge. It's part of what makes us push forward and grow. And
it's part of the problem that, when Vince said, what can I make this program about? Can it be about a guy who has whatever he wants? And he was like, that's not an interesting television show.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you would... I mean, we should start wrapping up, but is there anything else you'd like to talk about from what we were talking about?
No, I'm just really... I guess because we've only just watched this episode, I'm still kind of reeling from the visuals and the amount of story and the character development across everybody. I feel just a sense of kind of excitement for the next one.
And the humour.
I
mean, I want Vera Blassie to write.
But that's clever storytelling because that has been built out of the tension that's come in the past 5 episodes where we're like, what?
Yeah.
How? Where?
There were oh god, the choreography of the bubbles. Just a few notes about things we laughed about.
The bubbles
when all the women were in the hot tub and they all got out, and how they masked their nudity as they got out. Which
also made it like totally okay, that scene, because it was like, it was a little nod to like, isn't it ridiculous that we've been living in this world? James Bond.
Peggy Lee got an appearance coming out when she came up in the lift and came out into the lobby at the hotel, nice and easy.
I used to do a show about Peggy Lee back in the day, the famous singer who sang Fever and I'm a Woman. Yeah. But she is kind of perfect for that
she is.
Las Vegas, because she's kind of gentle and she's got a
nice
warmth to her voice.
The song is nice and easy.
Hey, don't worry, just have a lovely time.
I love his line about John Cena and saying in French he's even more convincing. It's very funny. But and my favourite line, I think, of the whole show was when he said, they miss you, or they're sad. And there was just a beat and she said, fuck 'em.
Yes.
Watch your toes.
Yes.
I could see he was off the curb.
Yes.
Just that the fuck 'em was just like so... I was so there for it. I'm always there for a fuck 'em.
So, in fact, what we're realising now is that because Carol they tried to convert her when she was young.
Yeah.
She's the perfect person.
Yeah.
To be the resistance. She's the single
so
person resistance
the whole
along
show
with the Paraguay guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And
the whole show is really visceral. The kind of close-ups and the feel of it is so organic. But her reaction to those things is so like, she's not just like, she's not going, oh, I'll tell them that I don't want it.
I think I probably
She's calling up and listening to that whole message twice so she can make it very clear that they are not going to fuck with her.
And we have to listen to
that.
them.
I love that they just keep doing that and they're going to keep doing it. It's so brilliant.
Well, because I genuinely, I'm going to put this out to everyone listening, which is, I definitely had a moment halfway through this where I can't remember when it was in their communication, but I thought, I think I'd probably cave by now. I wouldn't want to do the joining, but I'd want to do what he's suggesting, which is just have a nice time.
Have a nice time and let's chat about. Let's have a working group. See if we can find other ways to solve world hunger. Yeah, great. Fuck 'em. And the other thing you noticed was just after we were talking about, she was hoovering up the crystals and the thing came in. Yes. You noticed that that lovely logo for Pluribus that's been fingerprints. You saw that they look like little crystals that it's made out of.
Yes.
And the voices. And there's one time where we saw the voices. The voices have all been very calming and kind of harmonious. And there was one time in this episode where the voices suddenly became sinister, and they were at the end of the Blair Witch section. As she went through the door, there was a moment where the voices sounded like a sort of horror choir from something like The Omen or something, and then it cut back out there, and you got a sense of the sinister. And I guess what we've done now after episode 6 is we've resolved all the mystery. Like, what's going on? We know it's come from space. What's going on with the people? What's the underlying thing? We've done all of the setup now. We're halfway through the series, just over halfway through the series. So the mystery's gone. I mean, there may be some further twists. That was a big twist, and there may be some further twists. But now it's about how do you resolve it, and what do they do about it, and what happens
And is
to
there
them
going to be a
result
dark reveal?
Well, that
keep
is
us
the dark
moving
reveal,
into
but then it
season
comes
2?
back to being like a light reveal. I think that may be what keeps on happening.
Yeah.
You think there's going to be dark reveals, but actually it's just a sort of sad reveal.
Because it's about suspicion and trust and loneliness.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it too. Thank you so much for all of your comments on Spotify, particularly where it's much easier to comment if you have an account. Mike didn't have an account, so you came and messaged me on Instagram. You can also just direct message us on Instagram. Or
she knows it's the end.
Tallulah's here. Sorry, Tallulah. I can't show you too much because everything's a mess because of all our Christmas decorations. There's some. I won't read out all of the things from the previous episodes, but they're all there on Spotify waiting for you to talk. You can also comment on Podbean. And please, if you're listening on Apple, please take the time to come and give us a rating and add a little review because it makes a big difference to people finding us. There are some other podcasts being set up by people who have lots of other subscribers from previous other shows, and so they get pumped up to be the things that people notice first.
I saw there was a number 4 listener on Apple. Thank you very much. I can't remember your name, but yeah, let's make it 10. I'm getting ambitious now. Okay. I think we did better in the morning without whiskey.
Definitely, we were exhausted last week and unwell. We need to go back to work now.
Yeah.
And you need to get on a plane, but that's another matter. Have a lovely week, everybody, and I look forward to talking to you all
What's
about
the next
episode 7.
called?
I don't know. I haven't looked up what the name of it is.
Okay, we'll find out.
I thought it was going to be HDP was Hijo de Puta. I looked that up specially, and somebody else said no, it's human derived protein. That's quite good. So it's like calling it SOB or something. Anyway, goodbye from Christmas land and our Christmas village, and see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Now your music plays. Yeah, we can just listen to you sing Happy from your album. Sing that. Oh yeah. No, I can't do that. They should be dancing.
I'm feeling such a happy song, just singing and laughing and playing my day along. And oh, why don't you sing along with me? Why don't you sing? You'll see. You're gonna be happy, 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 happy.